What's up, guys? It's Rick Ginn. You're on the Rick Ginn YouTube channel. And today we're talking about where are the wholesale deals coming for 2026. And what I really wanted to kind of dig into you, instead of just giving you go pound your probates, go do your driving for dollars, which I'm always going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you why you have such massive opportunities coming here in 2026. Because if you know where you're coming from and you know where you are now and you know where you're going, it's much easier to take advantage of the opportunity. So I've been wholesaling for 24 years. I'm used to markets going up and down all the time. This is the norm. Okay. A lot of the stuff we've dealt with over the last 10 years was an anomaly, meaning it's just extremely rare. So what I want to do is kind of paint the picture, show you what I see, what's going on, share with you factual information. I can't make this stuff up. And then I want to show you how you can utilize this in 2026 for wholesaling. So I appreciate you guys being here. A couple ways to communicate with me. Number one, if you got a question, just put it in the comment. Easiest way to do it. And make a friend while you're here. Find somebody else that you want to maybe just hang out with wholesaling or anything like that. That is going to be the best way to do it. And that's what I'd like you to do. But you got to get used to talking to people, communicating with them. And if you can't do it on my channel, it's going to be very hard if you do it somewhere else. So use the comments to your advantage. The sooner you can learn this skill set, the better off you're going to be. Because if you can't engage in a friendly environment here, wait till you get outside of here, because people will tend to eat you alive. So I appreciate you guys being out here. The second thing is, if you're new to this channel or you just need a refresher, make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com. This is a course me and my son have created 100% for free. Not only to learn how to get your first deal, but easily get you your first $100,000. I've used this exact system. My son's used the exact system I taught him back in 2017. And I'm here to teach hundreds of thousands of people the exact way to do it. And here's the best part, guys. It doesn't cost you a dime. So you can get rid of your excuse. I don't have money. I don't have time. I don't have this. If you want it, it's there for the taking. Now, I'm going to tell you, it ain't for everybody. And I know that. And I want it to be that way. Because if wholesaling was easy, you would not have the opportunity in front of you. End of story. So what I'm going to do is, if we have some time at the end, if you want to click on there and do a mastermind, talk to me, you want to talk about anything real estate, I don't care. You can ask me anything. And let's take advantage of the opportunity. So I love wholesaling because these kind of live streams are actually my favorite, because I can look at where I came from, all the hiccups I had to deal with, the current market we're in, and extrapolate where we're going with it. But you guys know the drill. Make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com, one of the best ways, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. And let's talk about it. So I appreciate you guys. So number one, we're talking about, where is the gold rush for wholesaling is going to happen? And let me just first, before I even get into like some of these stats and stuff and share the screen with you, is here's a big part of the gold rush that you guys are kind of missing. Actually, let me see if I put a note on here for it. I got a lot of good stuff today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I didn't write it down because I had it stuck in my head. That's what happens with ADHD. I'll put it up here. Changing of the guard in real estate, specifically wholesaling. Real estate's a generic term. Actually, I should just fix that dang thing. I'm not going to fix it upstairs. The changing of the guard when it comes to wholesaling real estate. Unless you've been like buried under the couch or something, the companies that you traditionally saw you teaching wholesaling over the last 10 years, really last 5 or 7. Have you noticed a trend? They've all dissipated. Now, ask yourself, did wholesaling just go away? Or what happened? Well, I'm happy to tell you that the net effect of Rick Ginn and Zach Ginn with freewholesaling.com has basically solved one of the biggest problems. We have so many scam artists in here to try to sell you the gold in wholesaling and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm just going to fully admit this up front. It is easier to sell the picks and the shovels when it comes to gold digging than it is the actual gold. That is a truth. That's a truth most people don't want you to know because it would severely inhibit their ability to sell the picks and shovels. Now, I'm a martyr because I've been on both sides of this thing, man. I'm telling you, I hate it. In 2013, I decided I cannot tolerate it anymore. And so we saw really from 2013 to 2022, 2023, we saw an epic run of wholesaling courses. I've never, honestly, I saw hundreds and there's probably thousands available. And the average charge was between $5,000 and $10,000. It was out of control. I decided I can't take it anymore. And I eventually came back with freewholesaling.com. Now, I knew I was going to get ostracized in the community. I burned a lot of friendships. If my friendship's based on your ability to sell your course, you were never a friend to begin with. And I'm okay with that. The truth of the matter is it got just disgusting because we found out 75% of our clients that went to freewholesaling.com came from a failed course. I want you to hear this, 75%. So it's not just me. Listen, there's some quality courses out there, I'm sure, but is the value there? $5,000 and $10,000 ridiculous. And if these companies were so good at teaching, they'd be like a Tony Robbins. They would be in it forever. But the reality is when it comes to wholesaling, everybody's in it for the let's sell as many picks and shovels, and they make as much money as they can. They usually wind up in some sort of like a rock band argument with their partners because they sell so many shares of it and they're all gone. So guys, I'm not even going to put names on here, but like you just go through and think about all the people that you thought you were learning real estate wholesaling from over the last 5 to 7 years, maybe even go back 10. By the way, all evergreen courses, lifetime, most of them are gone. Kapoosh. So let me ask you, did the market dry up overnight? No. We just stopped selling the picks and shovels. And I think it's actually quality is now going to win going forward in 2026. Now, if you pay someone and you get it helps you come better, I'm all for it. But the reality is it's such washed down material. You can't see it before you buy it and you all got stuck. So my question is, why are all these people that were so influential in wholesaling leaving? It's just one simple answer to this. It's the God honest truth. When you stop selling the picks and shovels, they dissipate. If they were such incredible wholesalers, they would always wholesale. And then you always teach with it. I believe you can do both. But I will tell you, most people in the wholesaling business don't do wholesaling. They just do the guru teaching part of it. And that's where the challenge comes. And when their sales get hit, something like freewholesaling.com comes out. And by the way, every one of them told me, there's no way you're going to be able to make that work. You're going to just choke on yourself. I do wholesaling. I make plenty of money. I own plenty of real estate. I don't even have to work. So I'm not dependent on it. I don't care. Do I get revenue from YouTube, all that? Did I used to do like a ton of affiliate sales? I don't do it anymore. Why? Because it's so ridiculous because it's just about money. Everything drives sales and then they get a piece of the action. Now, not to say that I don't get paid from other companies, but I'm very limited in what I do. That's why I created our X Leads account. This is why we've created all our internal softwares because we have absolute control. And the really cool thing about it is like we created X Leads, no business being in the software business. Why? Because we got tired of the games. The prices kept going so much higher and they were not representing the wholesalers that these companies like, I'm not going to call you out. Look at your software company and see if they're selling solar leads. See if they're selling roofing leads. They will sell out to anybody to make a buck. And I'm not going to do it. And that's what's really changed on it. So why all these people have left and the change in the guard is because course sales have dropped so dramatically because you have options like this live stream that is just not profitable for anymore. And nobody ever admits the truth. They just all say, I'm going on the greener pastures. No, they're not. They're just going to go on to the next thing. They can sell something. And I promise you, it's going to have a coaching wraparound on it. Something, whatever, health, fitness, finance. I'm going to greener pastures. I'm going to go into this and that. It's like, dude, you can do whatever you want. But the reality, You know, there was an entire company that taught wholesaling. I mean, they had thousands and thousands of students. It's gone. It's still out there. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but like they had the biggest footprint. As soon as there was a glitch in the market, they just disappeared. And that is the telltale sign of what's happened in wholesaling. So if we go back to the peak, let's say the peak was probably around 2020, 2021, the whole pandemic and everything. I was actually very worried about wholesaling because it became, hey, put everything under contract and stick it on the market. Then we got hit with novations, and then we got hit with all this crazy stuff. Sell your wholesaling deals for retail. All these like special workarounds. I go, man, we are in trouble. And here we are. We're coming back full circle 2026. I mean, I could tell you, man, go try to look up like wholesaling videos like Past Me and Zach, and good luck, because all the people that were actually pumping all this information, they just left. And they all have a nice, tidy story why they left. Now, don't get me wrong. I've gone on to other things in wholesaling, but I've always stayed in wholesaling, number one, because I love it. Number two, it is my business and my passion. So I keep a pulse on it by helping you guys, helping you teach. I get a lot of JV deals and I love doing that. So the changing of the guard is real. But like, I'm telling you, like, think about this. I'm looking at the comments here. I'm sorry. It's unbelievable. How can you be in business selling courses for 2 or 3 years and then just dissipate? It's either one or two things. Number one, you just wanted out of the business and you weren't making any money, which is most likely. Or number two, it didn't work. And like people make fun of me for like teaching the basics. I'm not stupid. I understand what works. I'm not here to pump you like a bunch of fake stuff. And that's what you got to understand. So we have a major changing of the guards. And the idea is, guys, where we go in the future. Now, here's the thing is the void will always be filled. And there will be some very creative people that come up. It's one of the reasons why my son's so popular. And there will be very talented people, but you have to ask yourself when you get in the wholesaling, do you want to deal with someone who's going to be a marathon wholesaler or just a one-hit wonder, and they're going to be a sprinter? They're going to look good for the short term, because that's what we just went through. Look at all the names. Anybody in here with us here, 2016, 17, 18, what happened to all those people? I don't understand. Like they just fell. Wholesaling still alive and well. The problem is the course sales isn't. And that's the problem we're dealing with in wholesaling. And you guys are a little bit confused what's going on. So keep in mind the people that stuck around when it wasn't super sexy. See, anybody can sell courses. You sell picks and shovels when things are hot. But when things cool down and they disappear, it means they're not making any money, and they definitely don't wholesale. And I just want you to remember going into this when we do this, because it's just the truth. Okay, let me get moving here. Where did I put that? Okay, I took it off the screen. So let's talk about what's going on with this and where we're going to go with it. So first and foremost, we have to understand is I always look at national real estate news, not national wholesaling news, because it doesn't really exist. To be honest, I'm here to tell you any type of wholesaling information you get other than your like searches, you find people like myself, Zach, Max, the people that actually really do wholesaling. And then you have all the others. Once you get out of that side, when you look at the real estate news, is looking at basic common national real estate news will tell you a lot. And let me tell you why. Because I learned back in 2008 when the crap hit the fan. By the way, I owned a lot of property back then, and I learned some valuable lessons. Is when that market dropped, those sellers were so primed to get full value for their house and usually get a bidding war that they held on. You know how long they held on? 3 to 4 years before they folded the cards in. Why? Because the news cycle goes in reverse when you do wholesaling. So when properties are selling at peak historical rates, which they really have been for the last, let's just be honest, 7 to 8 years. And let's think about in 2024, 2023, it's not as challenging. There was some local stuff. And now we are in 2026. And so look at the news up to that point. Multiple bids, low interest rates, everything's phenomenal. Realtors are selling stuff. They never even have to leave their pajamas. And now we go into 2026. So have you guys seen the national news, what's going on with real estate? And once you start seeing that the news is predominantly negative, that's when I really get excited. Why? So the problem is it's an inverse relationship. The problem is sellers are still here. They're falling off the cliff, in my opinion. And you and me are like kind of right here. But I can't sit here and wait all day. Wholesaling does not wait for you. You have to go get it. You got to find the people that you could provide value to and educate them. The market that you thought you were in is not here anymore. Now, how do I know this? I just look at the national real estate news. So let me give you a couple examples and let me share my screen with you here. And let's figure out which one we want to do first. So let's talk about how do I look at like national news that's negative? So all you have to do is look at like videos like this. So let me pull up.
Leads the country in foreclosures. That, according to Adam, a property data and real estate company that tracks that kind of information. But behind the numbers are real people here in South Florida, many of them seniors. This story came from a viewer who asked us to expose what's happening. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray is your reporter in Hollywood with what she found.
When I purchased the home, I thought it would be like my forever home.
That was 8 years ago when Janora Farthing paid $85,000 for this modest condo in the Hollywood community of Carriage Hills.
I've got all my expenses listed here.
The 67-year-old was keeping up with her mortgage payments.
Lozart and HGTV.
COVID and poor health forced her into retirement, living on $1,700 a month Social Security.
So guys, you can watch, there's now thousands of videos like this. What I want you to understand is she did not shoot that as like a personal YouTube video on her channel. That was on CBS National News. And when somebody watches this, you know, people are like, oh my God, foreclosures are up. She's getting less than, she's gonna have to sell it for less than what it's worth. Is that has a residual effect. So we all know how mainstream media works. Once CBS News, ABC, the Today Show, that god-awful Good Morning America show that is completely controlled by a corporation with a very, let's just say, crazy agenda, is all those news areas, they feed from each other and they do the work for you because they're exposing hundreds of millions of people this negative news. Now homeowners are going to have conversation with realtors and go, when the realtor drops the bomb on them, they're not going to be as shocked anymore. Does everybody understand that? Once negative news hits the mainstream media, the writing's on the wall. The gold is there. You just got to find it. Here's the thing is, for the last 7 years, it's all been positive news about real estate. Low interest rates, properties are selling at record paces, people are building homes. It's a great investment. Everybody wants the American dream and the affordability. That message has massively shifted. And there's not a day I don't go by and I don't see a negative trend. So watch this. Let me show you another one. Oh, let me take her off. Nope. Oops, wrong one. Hold on. Let me get this here. Okay, let's do another share screen. Watch this one. This one's interesting. You guys have seen this. I've seen it everywhere here. And if I look here, I'm now going to go in and look. Where did I put it? I like to use Google because you can find out a lot of trends on things going on. And if you read this article here, I've seen a bunch of investors throw it around, but it is legit. I did check it out. And I want to show you that. Read that. Can't sell your house reaches an all-time high on Google search. What do you do now? Guys, this news is starting to like really ramp up and it's like snowballing. So you ever felt you're on an appointment, you're like, they want $1 million for the house. My neighbor sold for this. All the current home sales now are struggling. And this is going to have a net effect, because what happens is you start listing properties. My neighbor sold here. I want to sell here. It keeps stacking up. Well, 7 years it's stacked. Well, guess what? Now all the stuff on the market, they're sitting and rotting on the market. Days on market's high. Price reductions are happening. So obviously their comps are going to drop. So when comps drop, it has the opposite effect that we had in this previous market. They sold for 200. I'm going to have to sell for like 198.5. And then as more inventory comes on the market, which is going to, and I'll tell you what the catalyst is going to be for that, then when you get a flood of properties, they all have to compete. Well, everybody wants to get their home sold. Either they're buying another home, they need the money to move to take care of mom or whatever it is. And so they'll compete on price. And let me be honest with you, this is how you get deals. As the prices get lower, it gets better. And we can build equity in, we can build spreads in. Guys, trends like this are not common. And you have to understand that. So now if we know that, then let's just talk about the realtor news. Because I've never met a realtor that couldn't put a positive spin on it. And for the first time, I'm seeing national news from like NAR, the National Association of Realtors. It ain't good. And you can only hide. So this is what I love owning a software company, is data over drama. Not my saying, but it's a good one. Why? Data can't lie to you. Drama is nothing but, let me twist this so my narrative gets accomplished. And at some point, realtors have to go, damn, that's the number. I can't really spin that one. Let me give you a perfect example here. So let me grab one more headline. This is good. Now, when you start seeing negative national news from the National Association of Realtors, that one will freak everybody out. So, because remember, these are the realtors that are sharing all this. So this is not so I want you to read that. If you look on here, existing homes fell 8.4% in January. So basically, existing home sales dropped almost 9%. Month over month, year over year, sales decreased in all regions. Decrease. Ready for this? Dude, look at this. I believe, I don't know if this is the president of the NAR. Let me see. I don't see a title or caption. Let's see. Members. No, they don't really source it. But if you look on there, his quote, I assume this is the president. They've gone through a lot of shifts with everything. The decrease in sales is disappointing. January makes it harder than usual to assess the underlying driver. They always write off like January, February as seasonal with the weather and stuff. This month's numbers are an aberration. So they're like, remember how they said, remember when we had inflation, like 8-9% crazy numbers? And remember our incredible talented economist in the United States government said, I don't think they said it. I believe the politician said it's transitory. So when I hear the word aberration, I now I got to look this up, because I don't, an anomaly, a deviation, abnormality. It's basically code for the same word as transitory, in my opinion. They're like, they're always going to spin it to some point. When they use the words disappointing, abnormalities, stuff like that, guys, I haven't seen negative news from NAR in like 10 years. So now we're getting it. And now when you meet with your sellers, they're going to be more open to listening to your offer, because they don't have that go-to realtor that's going to sell their property for 30% more than it's worth. I know that's an exaggeration, but it's the truth in the matter. So if we understand that, the national news is out there, guys. It has tipped in your favor. This is one of the secret gold mines, because we've been fighting this for 7 years terribly. So let's keep moving on this, okay? So let's talk about foreclosures. Unless you have like fallen off the face of the earth. We need to track foreclosures to understand it. Now, what I want you to do, guys, before we get into foreclosures, you should know all your local and virtual market stats. Now, the good news is you can get most of that from your National Realtors Association. The problem is it's usually lagging 3 months behind, some 45 days, but in Florida, we're usually at least 60 days behind. What I want to track is days on market and the percentage. I like to look at the percentage of list price versus sales price. So right now it's dropped down. I believe in my market, it's around 92, 93% of list price. And for a long time, it was like 96, 97, which means people are much more negotiable because they don't have as many buyers coming in when they do that. So I want you to look at that. And you can also look at your average sales price, days on market, all critical stuff. And you can see stuff because remember, all real estate's local. Just because this is happening in my market doesn't mean it's actually happening in yours. So let's get into foreclosures and let's talk about it. So let me share this screen. I'm trying to pick which one to do. Let's see. So let's do foreclosures real quick. Let's just run through this. Because there's so many other things that we have to talk about in here. So this is by Adam Data, which is extremely reliable. I like Adam Data. They feed most of the software companies. So I want you to look at this. And you can look at it state by state on the whole thing is. Obviously, Delaware came in at number 1. Somebody reported Florida's number 1, but we're number 3. We're usually number 1 and usually the worst stats possible. Nevada came in at a strong number 2, and Florida came in at number 3. Why is this important? Guys, these numbers are massively piling up, and they're reporting, ready for this? If you look down here, the year over year increase is up 32%. We haven't seen numbers like this in over 7 years. Now, I'm not pointing at the obvious. Always chase down foreclosures and get them in the pre-stages as early as possible. The states with the worst foreclosure: Delaware, Nevada, Florida, South Carolina, and Maryland. Now, if you want to look at foreclosure activity report, which aligns, which is the same thing, is here's the national stats for you guys. But you guys can look this up on your own. You don't need me to feed you this stuff. The numbers are interesting. So if I look at this, change from December 2024, I mean, look at like some of the numbers. It's actually just staggering when you read it. I'm looking at some of them. I mean, you just go through some of these numbers, it's staggering. Staggering. I write off, I mean, just unbelievable. And you could go through all the stats and stuff, and it'll go through everything on that. But guys, this is just 1 month. Now we have to see where the next 6 months trends go. If you see a staggering 30% month over month, man, the writing's on the wall where this market's heading. Is it what was the word they use? An aberration, an anomaly? Time will tell. But I've seen governments try to explain that before. It's a challenge. But guys, this is factual information. I cannot manipulate this. This is black and white. Every realtor sees this. It's becoming challenging. And there's a lot of properties. One of the other stats, if you have the ability to pull it in your market, is find out expired listing, because that is a train wreck right now in Florida. I mean, a train wreck. And we have to understand this. So let me jump back here. We'll pop this off the screen. Now, I would be remiss to say, if you think foreclosures are the one thing that catapults people, I want to show you this. So, hold on one second. I'm reading some of your guys' comments. So, it feels like, Okay, I'm just highlighting questions so we can get to this part. So we were going to answer them all. Okay, so if we understand this, um, what you want to try to do is look up to the factors that lead up to a foreclosure. So a lot of the AI we're going forward with X leads and stuff are all the events that happens before a foreclosure to give you a better ability to attack it before it even gets to the foreclosure filing. Well, Rick, what are you talking about? Would you agree that people start defaulting on their credit card payments and on their auto loans long before they do on their house payment? It's just a give it. So what if we could reverse engineer using AI and figure out that stuff? And that's what we're doing right now. So part of it is done in the SkyDrive where we have a seller score and we have a property score. And we can look at events that have been recorded and look at it over a 5 or 10-year period. Foreclosures never happen overnight, guys. It is usually years and years of events happening in someone's life, losing a job, death of a loved one, um, just financial matters. Nobody chooses to live at a crappy home. They chose to pick that house and then life changed and they couldn't get their head around it. So if we know that going into it, let's roll through this and figure this out. What are the precursors? I already kind of shared them with you. So I want to show you this. This one just blows my mind away. Watch the screen, man. And I've been looking at this the last 2 years, and all it does is just keep rising and rising. What are we looking at here? We're basically looking at people's credit card debt. And the reason why you want to know this, hold on, let me pull up the screen here. I had so many. Is we're approaching 1.3 trillion. And I want to show you when we started down here at the beginning of the pandemic is 0.77. Guys, we've almost doubled the amount an average American owes on a credit card in really 5 years. At this rate, what this means, like how do I extrapolate this? Modern incomes are not keeping up with the cost of living, period. It's that or Amazon's just taken over the world, which is, I think, is a big part of it. How they don't go after Amazon for monopolies beyond me, but not my fight because actually it's use them. But do you see this, guys? We started at 0.7 and now we're approaching 1.3. Now, all this is somewhat relative to the value of the US dollar. And it probably increases, but guys, it's just, look at this. Since 2021, early 2021, all the way to starting right now in January, the end of Q4 in 2025, it's just like a rocket ship. Let me ask you, how long do you think that can happen? Guys, it can't. It's going to be a real problem. Now, if you really want to dig into the weeds on this even gets better. You can look on here, the average auto loan balances. So on cars, so let's get straight. Americans owe $1.67 trillion. Now I want you to go back here. Look, you see this right here? 1.3 trillion almost represents nothing. It's debt from past experiences. And it is just going to keep straining the American economy and it's going to choke people out. See, at least with an auto loan, at least half of it's got to be tied up in a actual physical asset. The problem with credit cards, these are dinners. These are hotel rooms. These are all the Christmas gifts. Guys, it is bad. Do you understand $1.3 trillion in credit card is not sustainable? It's going to be a real problem. It's going to drive up bankruptcies and foreclosures. And until you see this thing tip, guys, I believe real estate pricing is going to have real challenges because remember, when you go to get a mortgage, the first thing they're going to look at past your income, see if you have a job and a pulse is what is your debt? And when we start talking about 1.3 trillion, I don't know what the average is. I do have some of the, I think the average credit card debt for a United States, I guess you can use the word citizen. I have no idea what a citizen is anymore in the United States because Our elected officials seem to have other information on who they represent, but it's around $6,600. And that's up almost double from 5 years ago. So the more credit cards you get debt, the worse you're going to have problems affording real estate. So if you look under here, it's absolutely nuts. So 1.3, guys, is significant because it represents zero. There's nothing to back that asset except people's terrible spending habits. I used to be one of them, and I understand that more than anybody. So let me switch this off the screen because this gets interesting. You guys understand when you have that kind of credit card debt, you're in big, big trouble in the United States. And what I'm finding out, and they're polling people, is people are using credit cards just to cover bills now. I know there's a lot of people using it for dinner and extravagant things, but they say the average person is just using it to supplement their income. And this is like, at some point, we have to pay the piper for this. This is going to be really problematic, in my opinion, because it doesn't seem to want to right itself. And that's the big concern that we're seeing now. So if we're going through this on this, we have to understand is, what's the next thing we have to look at? Well, let's take a look. So let's break it down, because remember, all real estate's local, and let's break it down by state, just like we did foreclosures. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who's in the biggest trouble here. Now, for some reason, Connecticut came in at the worst. I don't know what the heck's going up in Connecticut, but if you look, the average credit card debt for an average American, I don't even say citizen anymore because I don't know. And you can see the exponential increase. And look at these numbers, guys. It's scary. I mean, in the top 10, they're $9,000 or more per person. So if somebody makes 100, say they make on average, say the average person makes, I don't know, let's call it 78,000. If I owe 10 grand on 78,000, that means 13% of your income was already spent. It's going to be a real problem. And you can go through this. Actually, you can look it up on, I mean, I don't endorse this, but you can look at, but there's certain parts of the United States where people are somewhat responsible. Florida's out of control. Connecticut, I don't know what's going on up there. Look at that. Almost $10,000. So I want to look at it. Delaware came in the number one foreclosure state. I always like Delaware's so small, it's hard to find here. It's shocking that New York's up, but you guys kind of get the gist of this. You can look at it locally and figure out, even in your local market, what's going on, because it's a mess. There's not a state that's not immune from this credit card debt. But let's keep going. This gets worse, guys. Let's keep going. So what else? Oh, let me ask you this. You ready? What has really changed in the last 20 years that's come really predominant that the bills never come due on? There you go. There's one to suck in on. So this right here is a chart. I would like to tell you it's our GDP or the average sales price of real estate, but it's not. This is historical national student loan debt in trillions. Now, remember what I said about the credit card? Let's face it, most of that money didn't buy income producing assets. I'd say very little of it did, probably none. So if we talk about college student loans, look at this. It just doesn't stop. Now, if you look at where it really came off the rails was 2000, once we hit $1 trillion, which was 2012, 2011. And look at this. And I know what you're saying. They go, no, Rick, it went backwards in 2020. No. That's because that current administration suspended debts. And then we had the COVID outbreak and the whole 9 yards. And now we're right. Look, we're going to keep that line and that line's going to keep shooting up. I hope that some days a politician will take this on because it's disgusting. And guys, I'm just telling you, if you have kids or you're considering doing college, please do not sign these college debts. These loans are abusive. In my opinion, they are just like credit card loans. You will have nothing to represent yourself for it. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. So let's see this. We have 1.3 trillion in credit card debts. We basically could approach 2 trillion in college loans, which, and by the way, you can't get out from them. The problem is we are robbing Peter to pay Paul for the future of America. So we got roughly 3.5 trillion between both of honestly stuff that's bought that has zero intrinsic value. It's just a liability. You listen, you got the pleasure of going to college. God bless you. All these kids moving forward are really going to struggle buying real estate. And this is a little bit of the challenge, guys, we have. It's not guys like me. It's not even guys like Zach. It's the future of the people because they're running up their credit cards. They're getting ridiculous student loans. If you have a pulse, they sign you because you can't wipe it out in bankruptcy or anything. The only thing that wipes it out is death. So I just like, at some point, parents got to stand up and go, we got to stop obligating our kids for this stuff. But the guys, this is real, and then they have to pay it. Otherwise, they're going to garnish their wages and go after them. And if they don't stop this crazy, crazy spending, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know why the message hasn't got out about college. There are good college programs. I'm not knocking it completely, but for the most part, I think kids are so lost by the time they get out of high school that they'll do anything probably to get busy or get away from their parents. And then I think their parents are so proud hungry of where their kids are going to go to college. And we send kids to school without having any idea what they want to do. This is why coming out of college, it's a 60% unemployment rate because most people are going to wind up in a labor job or a sales job. And this is where we have to start looking at skill trades. Like there's great jobs out there that you can train less than 6 months and make 6 figures. Why are we going to school for 4, 6, and 8 years? And I don't know about last time, there's no way a college can keep up with the modern business world in the United States. It's not even close. They're teaching such old, antiquated stuff. There are some cutting edge programs, but like if you go to college to be a wholesaler, God bless you. You're going to be dumber than when you ever walked in because they're going to teach. When I went to college way, way, way back then, they only taught like marketing at a high level for like Coca-Cola, IBM, hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing. They just didn't teach the grassroots of how a entrepreneur is going to market their business. And to this date, I don't think they're very good at it. Listen, most professors take it because it's a job, it's stable, and they don't have to go into the business world and actually earn a paycheck. So guys, we've got to stop. Like at some point, if we don't break those patterns, you want to talk about affordability of house, don't worry about the house being affordable because they don't have any money to begin with. And this is the challenge. I'm not saying this to scare you. It's just the truth of what's going on today in our wonderful country here. So let's keep going here. I got lots more to go through it with you. Ready? So we talked about that. We talked about loan debt. So let me do this. We're going to do a Q&A as soon as I'm just going over all the numbers on it. So we talked about the new cycle on real estate, the changing of the guards. So let me ask you this. Where's the money? Like, where the hell is everybody's money? And that's what you have to know. This is where the gold is going into wholesaling in 2026. Because I don't know about you. I'm a big believer in investing. I don't believe in saving. Saving is something when you do when you're young and you want to buy a bicycle, you want to do that. Saving in the modern US world is reckless in my opinion. Now, once you built a buffer, like you have a 6-month spread of living expenses, I prefer a year. We all do what we got to do. Don't get me wrong. But once you do that, if you don't invest your money, you're not saving, you're just depleting the worth of your money. And what do I mean by that? So what do you think the average person's done to mitigate their risk, beat inflation, and have their money actually to where it doesn't deteriorate. Guys, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe banks still sell CDs. You guys know what that is? Certificate of deposit. It is one of the worst, most antiquated vehicles I have ever seen in my entire life. It's all about security, safety. It's like 2%. What's the point? And then I got to wait 6 months to a year. And then I got to go in the bank, or I got to click a button online and I got to renew it. And then they're going to re-obligate me. Banks are very smart. They know how to take care of lazy people. Think about this. When I was young, I had so many bank fees. It's ridiculous. I don't have one bank fee, guys. Why? Because I know how to utilize the system. When I didn't understand or educate myself money, the banks took advantage of me. And this is what banks do every day, not only in the United States, all around the world. They abuse you. Guys, look at your overdraft fees when you bounce a check. I mean, some of these fees are just outrageous. And it's your money, or if you don't have the money. And they get, like, I think it's like $35 if you don't keep a minimum balance in there. And that's what they charge you just to have the right to have a checking account. It's ludicrous. So where is the money? Let's show you where the money is, because it's important. If you guys don't know where the money is, you can't go get it. So if we go, hey, where is the money? I'll show you exactly where it is. And I've talked about this before. So if you look on the screen, what's Rick showing? Oh my God, another chart here. No, it's going to help you out here. Let me get rid of this screen. So this is a snapshot of money market funds. Now, in the old days, everybody used to do CDs when I was growing up. I got really tickled. I went in the bank the other day and they offer CDs. It's a joke. CDs are terrible. So when you buy a CD, you are locked out for whatever it is, 90 days, 180, a year, up to 3 years, up to 5 years. Now, this is a money market. Now, keep in mind, guys, you see how money markets didn't exist really before like 1984? And they really didn't come mainstream till around 2012, 10. I want you to look at this. So if we look at, let me dial this in a little bit tighter. I think this is what? So if we look right around the pandemic, right? Look at this. Right before it, we averaged $2 to $3 trillion in it. Keep in mind, think about the credit card, the amount of debt. Think about the student loan debt. This is crazy. Watch this. So 3 million, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I believe as we shot this, when the next one comes out, we'll be at $8 trillion sitting in money market accounts. Now, you're thinking, well, Rick, what are you telling me this for? Dude, guys, I take full advantage of this. Why? Because any type of liquid cash I keep in my companies or even personally, I don't put it in savings. Savings, guys, post on there. What's the average interest rate a bank gives you on a savings account? Please tell me. And by the way, I can't get these types of accounts at my local bank. It doesn't work. So does anybody have, if you go to, I'm not going to say bank names because I don't want to get sued. Go to one of your big banks alone and see what the interest rate is they'll pay you for a savings account. Let's look it up. What is a savings account a rate? Savings. And by the way, I did not even get into the amount of savings that the United States is doing it. Savings account rates. On average, it's low. All right, here it is. Account interest rates. Let's see. My favorite bank here. Oh, it's like 0.1. I mean, it's just a crap. And you guys do it all the time. And most of you have your money sitting in a checking account. Did you know you can hop over here and you can put your money in a money market? So basically, you're like, well, Rick, isn't that complicated? Usually you have to use like a brokerage account, like a Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch and stuff like that. But like as of right now, I think it's like 4.1, 4.08, 4.9. Why is that important? Because if I put my money in a CD or I put it in like a local bank, and let's face it, even the best modern inflation is usually around 2.5, 3%. So if you just leave your money in there, it actually deteriorates. It becomes less valuable. So smart investors use their base cash holding and put them in money markets, which is basically treasury bills when it comes down to it. Why? Because I know I'm not losing money. At worst, I'm breaking even or making a slight bit of interest rates. Now, what's going to happen when rates drop? Where's the money going? Who's going to have your money? I can tell you this 8 is going to probably go back down to 4 or 5. Why? Because nobody wants to sit in if the interest rates get low. I believe once it gets low, but like 3.8, I'm moving my money out. Why? Because I can find a higher yield elsewhere. And let me ask you, where is people going to find a higher yield? You're going to have to go to real estate. That's where it's going to be at. That is going to be when your liquid hidden gold mines. Why? Because once I can't get this easy money, and by the way, I was getting as high as almost 5.79% at the peak of the market when interest rates got really high, which we're going to talk about real quick on that. So let me ask you this. If I know that the stock market's melting, the previous administration couldn't figure anything out with the economy, they just kind of like, let's not doing anything. And then real estate was tailing off. What better way? You'll give me 5.7 and I have no risk. It's guaranteed by the government. And here's the thing is people go, well, what about the liquidity? It's 24 hours. It takes 24 hours to convert it. It trades just like a stock, like an ETF almost. So guys, that money at 8, I believe it's going to be cut in half. And a lot of that money is going to dump back into real estate. Maybe other things, maybe people put it back in stocks. You know, the market's going to tell us that, but I'm telling you, like $8 trillion sitting on the sideline. So I've got $3.5 trillion of just wasted money. Never going to see it again. And if you think affordability of a house is bad on the building side, when you have so much debt before you even try to buy a house, forget about savings. Like, how are you going to clear that debt out? And that's the big challenge that we're seeing right now. So let me add to the last one here, and then we will go through and answer a crap load of questions. So tying into interest rates, I want everybody to understand that let's look up mortgage rates because that's a key part. Now, do we care as wholesalers what the mortgage rate is? Technically up front, no, because it doesn't affect us. What it does affect is our customers. Who are our customers? Our customers are our cash buyers. And when interest rates are high, they get squirrelish because their cost of holding a property increases. And they all want lower interest rates. But the problem is it's a double-edged sword. So currently, as we stand, we're about 6.1, maybe 6.2. It hovers every day. Let me give you a little crash course on how interest rates work. They are tied to the 10-year Treasury note. That's what they're tied to. And when the Federal Reserve drops their basis, most of you think, well, it's going to have an impact on mortgage rates. No, it's crazy. And actually, with everything in the last 4 or 5 days, mortgage rates, they dropped. Like it actually got below 6%, which the realtors ran and like they blasted all over, with the national news. But then we turn around, it's back to 6.1, 6.18. Why? There's so many factors go when they set these rates, guys. Remember, the Fed rate is just what the banks are paying as their base rate to borrow these monies to make money off of you. So most of us think, well, when they drop the interest rates 0.25 or 0.50 basis points, then it automatically affects. No, it doesn't. Like it's becoming actually a separation. It's getting a little weird. Now, I'm going to tell you, without getting into politics, we got a new Fed coming in. There's going to be a lot of pressure for them to drop the interest rates, but it's going to take time, guys. And here's the challenge that when we talk to cash buyers, and this is the point I want to kind of get across to you today is I tell them now is the time to buy these properties from me. By the way, every day is a good day to buy a property from Rick and Zach. But the reality is, are you going to wait till interest rates drop? Because when that happens, more people are going to move their money out of the money market accounts, and you're going to get more competition, and these properties are going to get bid up. What if you get out in front of the curve? Now, I'm not here to sell anyone. It's just the truth. The smart fix and flippers are the ones that are actually going to take action now, because everybody wants to join the party when the rates are low. The problem is when you do that, you have way more competition. You're going to get in the bidding wars. You're going to pay more, which is really good for you and me. And those days are coming, guys. So if you look on this, if you look on the mortgage rates, pretty straightforward. And the reason I gave you an entire like macro view on it. Now, I was not in real estate during the 80s, and there's people who survived in this. And this is where, in my opinion, the heart of like real creative financing came in on this. Because if you look at this, guys, the peak was, what is it? 18.44%. And they lived. And then you look at this one. So if you want to see where, let's do this. I'll do the last 10 years. So I want to show you, I think you can see this. I'm bouncing screens. Okay. So as you look at the last 10 years, if all you want to know about how wholesaling works, if you look from like 2017 all the way to 2023, this is where all your influencers, all your coaches came from, because they're so smart. They're so much smarter than the average market, because they flipped their 10 properties and now they sell courses. And why not sell the picks and shovels? They openly admit they make more money selling that stuff than they do this. And then, it got interesting in 2023. And then rates started climbing. Inflation got out of control because our government they called it transitory. Instead of dealing with it head on, they just avoided it. And then it peaked all the way, look at here, all the way around 2024. So guys, if you want to know why people have exited, is because this was smooth sailing. And I'm going to tell you, any idiot can make money in wholesaling when rates are this low, sub 5%. You got to be kidding me. People go crazy to go get cheap money. And then we look down here when it got like really, really sub numbers. And in my opinion, the real crazy thing happened from 2019 to 2023. And I apologize if you learned wholesaling from that time. If your mentor, your coach is still not around, the writing's on the wall. I'm only going to do it when it's easy. When it's actually more work, I'm going to bail out of it. That's like if you're going to sell insurance and you decide, we just got hit with 3 major hurricanes. I'm not selling insurance anymore because it's more work. So I like wholesaling because the market weeds out the weak. So let's look at where we are. We get these ramp ups. I mean, look at the peak here, 7.76. Now, real estate has like a hangover effect. The problem is that 7.76, as I told you, takes 2 to 3 years for that to yield in the market. And here we are almost 3 years to the date, and we're looking at it. Now we're still in the low 6s. And if you look for the last year, we've just kind of been hovering. It is not enough for people to take action. I like anything that's below a 6 because I believe it'll create activity. At 5, 5.25, guys, this real estate market will really ramp up. And so we are on the tail end of this, in my opinion. And the thing is, you keep in mind, everybody made their money selling wholesaling courses from 2017. And then, I got to stop because in 2024, I can't figure it out. Then we came out with all these crazy courses, do creative financing, avoid wholesaling because it's bad. And now you're seeing everyone throwing these subject twos out the window because there's no teeth to them. And to me, they're more predatory than a wholesale deal. And then we hit the peak rates, and we've been doing nothing but try to recover from them. The rates got so high, they freaked out so many people, and people were selling such retail that now we're coming down. So guys, I'm just telling you, what goes up must come down. Let me get this off the screen here. I think right now we are heading into the sweet spot of wholesaling. and real estate in general when we have positive news about where interest rates are going to go. They're going to go down one way or the other. Now keep it. And then also the current administration banned to have these Wall Street companies buy big blocks of properties. How they enforce that, I've yet to look into it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing it. But guys, hedge funds aren't buying right now anyways. Not a bad idea to curtail their appetite to buy them, but I just want to make sure it doesn't affect our ability to buy multiple houses, because I buy hundreds and I don't want to be labeled as I can't buy it. There's still ways around it. So we have that going for us. Listen, I don't know what they're going to do about the national student debt. I believe at some point, I maybe. The problem is you have to be careful because an election cycle comes down. I've yet to see one president. I've heard him like joke and like, this is terrible for the colleges. Until you take on these institutions and start solving this student loan thing where the government is basically in bed with them by backing up these loans, we're never going to fix this problem. You think college is expensive now. Until Americans wake up and go, you know what, this is probably not a great investment. I spoke to someone the other day, they're spending $450,000 to send, he said it'll probably be around $600,000 with housing, to send their kid to a 4-year institution to get a degree in marketing. I go, dude, like, you'd be better off interning, in my opinion. So the problem here is not so much that they spent the $600,000, which you could open up some really good businesses, but you still got to have good operators. Is they're going to lose 4 years of their life. So if they could earn $100,000 a year easily, I don't know how you can't, that is $1 million swing. And I don't know you, but at like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, $1 million in more 30 years would be worth a phenomenal amount of money if you never even worked. And I just don't know why people don't walk through the math on this. So I'm telling you, I believe we're on the tip side of this, guys. We are on it right now. I'm always going to tell you to attack the government list and get them going, but I've never seen the sky's clearing. The coaches are getting out of the way. And once it gets good again, they'll all come back in. It'll be a new set of people. They're going to make a new set of empty promises to you, and we're going to be back in the cycle again. So here's the cool part is I believe there's less and less people doing wholesaling. Why? Because it's not super sexy right now. Because people aren't making $1 million sitting on the beach sipping Mai Tais. They actually have to work. Here's the thing is you actually have to work in wholesaling. I know it shocks the hell out of people. Do you know my first 7 years of wholesaling, I didn't even look up. I just wholesaled everything I could. I had no idea what I was doing the first year and a half, but I stuck it out and I got really good at it. And some of you guys are bitching and moaning 3 months into it. Like, give me a break. How good do you think you're really going to be? You just got to show up with a great attitude and you got to put in the effort. And if you don't do it, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to suck at it. The problem is a lot of you guys just blame wholesaling. And the reality is you. You just, it's a lot more work than you said it was going to be. Yeah, it is. It's just the truth of the matter. And we have to understand that. And if we don't, we are going to struggle. We are going to struggle. And I love wholesaling, guys. I'm just saying we got to get rid of the excuses. In 2026, what's your excuse? My favorite, he goes, the saturation's terrible. Give me a break. Do you know the average wholesaler is so bad at what they do and they have such bad material? I mean, there's wholesalers out there that just use PPL alone to try to produce their leads. Like, just say I'm not a wholesaler without showing me it. Because PPL, if you start out doing PPL and you don't have any money, how are you going to pay for all those leads? And number two, most of the people you're reaching out are people who just want to sell their property faster, but they don't need to sell it. And so, okay, you'll make a $5,000 to $10,000 profit, but you're going to spend $8,000 in leads. What business plan are you going to run? Like, I have never in my 24 years seen a more horrid business plan than just doing PPL or PPC. I'm not saying they don't work, but if you think you're just going to outsource it and it's all going to be taken care of for you, wake up, guys. It doesn't work. And they've had a 4 or 5 year run and all the chickens have come home the roost saying, I just can't make an ROI off of it. So I love that the fundamentals are clearing. All the bad people in our business that And by the way, most of the people that are frowning on wholesaling, they used it to make their millions, and now they're telling you it's unethical. So cute. But then they turn around and sell people's leads with phone numbers and violate most TCPA laws, and they want to talk about ethics. So I just think it's kind of funny. So it's I'm just telling you guys, the saturation, the average person that's wholesaling, they want it with no resistance. They expect to make $1 million on their first deal. And the first time they get yelled at, hung up, or like disappointed, they quit. That is who you're competing with. So stop bitching about your saturation. I'm telling you right now, just you've got to rise to the top and do better. Is it going to be painful in the beginning? I guarantee it. I don't even hide it from you. The worst thing you can do is start using third-party marketing companies to hand you tons and thousands of motivated sellers. Dude, if it was that easy, that's all I would do. I don't do it. I've tried for 24 years. I've tried to put over 100 grand into those. The return is so nominal, it's not worth it. So if I make 130 grand buying $100,000 lead and you go, oh, you made 30%, bullshit. I got to pay staff. I've got to calculate all my time. I actually lost money. And that is the big punk you're hearing on PPC and PPL. You could call it the 6-figure company, the 7, the 8, the 9, the 10. It doesn't matter. Guys, those numbers don't even make sense. I've already showed the average what a wholesaler makes. You can have an amazing life making easily $1 million in wholesaling with your eyes shut. And you know what? For the longest time, my first 7 years, I was making $500-600 grand a year after, and that's the true net of expenses. Now, the first 2 years was not fun. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it was painful. But the reality is I was making significantly more than anybody else around me, and it opened me up to things I didn't even know I could do. And I started buying my time back. And then I took all my extra income and I bought assets to pay me in the event I could never work in the future. And that's where I'm at now. And that's what you have to do. I made a huge sacrifice. I gave up 7 years of my life. And some of you guys are complaining about 7 days and 7 months. I don't want to hear it anymore. The gold's there if you want it. Just stop trying to buy the picks and shovels and actually do the work. Because I've never seen a better opportunity in 2026. Realtors are even getting the message. Realtors are calling me. I had a property the other day where I made a bid. They didn't like it. It was really bad. It was low because I already know the challenges with the property. Now, it was a high-end property. The initial sales price was 3.95. I made a very, very go for no bid. I got laughed at, kicked out the door. Guess what? 3 months later, they're in my office. Let's work out a number we can work. They want to get on a conference call. Now, here's the best part is my bid dropped another 500,000 because you put it out on the market and nobody else wants it. So my $4 million listing, I offered, I think 2.4. Now I'm down to 1.95. And you know what? They're probably going to take it because I already know the challenges. I know what it's going to cost to fix. It's not an easy job. This is not a wholesale deal. It is a long-term fix and flip for basically a $6 million property. Why? I love shit like this, man. I love it. And those people are getting desperate to sell because they can't move the properties. Now, and the thing is, once that comp resets, the entire block is going to take a hit. And once we keep resetting these comps, guys, it's coming. But the thing is, you've got to be ramped up now. You might as well get your growing pains in right now for wholesaling. Let's learn how to talk to people. Let's get all the ums and the buts out of the way. Let's learn how to do go for no. If you want a yes on your first offer, you're going to get your butt kicked in wholesaling. I always want to get rejected in the wholesaling. Oh my God, you're doing that lowball thing. What do you think wholesaling is? We just do lowball with dignity. I've watched these guys. I have watched people do it like online with their whatever. They call realtors. They call PPL leads. We all have to lowball because if you highball, which is what realtors do, you can't make any money in this business. So find a way that you can comfortably make those offers. We buy problematic properties. We exchange speed and convenience for equity. That's all we do. But if you don't get equity, what the hell are you doing in this business? I don't understand it. So, okay. That's enough of me. If you got any questions, put them in here. I'm going to go through and answer a bunch of questions. I'm watching your questions carefully, and let's answer some questions. So, guys, I'm going to be very clear. There's so much negative news coming out with real estate. Now is the time to do everything you want to do in wholesaling. See, a lot of people think you make money in great markets. You actually make the money in the down markets. You make money when you buy. And if you don't buy low and you're not embarrassed with your offer, you're not wholesaling. You're just a cash buyer. Let me ask you, do you want to feel good at the end of the day, or do you want a business that provides for you and your family and you actually solve sellers' problems? Because if you overpay for a property, you actually don't help the seller's problem. You compound it. I don't like getting out of contracts. I want the contract first time to be right. In the beginning, you'll suck at it, but when you get better after a while, the only time I get out of contract is when like there's a legal issue or we have a huge discrepancy. I never back out of a contract because I offer so low, and I'm proud of it. If I had a low ball badge, I would wear it right here because that's what a wholesaler does. Do I sit there and tell the seller, I'm just going to lowball you and beat you up? No, I connect with them. I build rapport. I earn their trust. I listen very careful to the seller, what they want to accomplish. I only focus on people who need to sell a house, and then I make an offer based on what they need for their solution, and it's going to be low. And then we start a negotiation process. If you get a yes on the first offer, I guarantee you 100% of the time you paid too much for the property. And it took me 2.5, 3 years to understand that concept because I got tired of contracts failing. So, God goes, who are the coaches left? I don't know. I don't really, I'm just telling you that there was an entire company like, it was like Wholesale or something like that. I don't know if it's Incorporation or something like that. Biggest, baddest company out there. Boom, gone. Just how do you disappear overnight? And the founders are wonderful people. They're all doing different things. Not one of them is doing wholesaling. How in the world does that happen? I don't understand. And they had their entire market captivated and they just left. I know why they left. Think about that. It's just the truth, man. Okay, let me, I start some on here. So if you're having problems with the contacts, why don't you schedule a one-on-one Zoom, and they'll give you 15 minutes and show you how to do that in X Leads. And we have daily onboarding calls and everything. So if the tutorial, I get it. Like, trust me, I got ADHD. Sometimes it's hard to use like a tutorial. So go on one of the live calls or just book. All you have to do is go in and click the lower right-hand button, use the AI, and they will schedule an appointment with you and be very specific. And if you can do screen recording and showing them what problem you have, I promise you it's just an education thing. And we're the only ones with a Go High level that we actually provides real support. So remember, I have an entire team just dedicated to Go High level, and you get a free Zoom call with them for up to 15 minutes, but be very specific so they can accomplish it because they got to deal with a lot of questions. So Caleb, I'm going to be here to tell you the offers always had to been low in wholesaling. It's never been about remember, we sell low to sell medium. So if you buy medium, it means you have to sell high, and you're going to have like a 95% failure ratio doing that. So I rather you get a bunch of no's up front so you can ultimately get a yes from your customer, which is the cash buyer, because that's how you win in wholesaling. So I get you on the speed thing. Somebody asks, can you talk a bit about vacant land? I mean, vacant land, honestly, it's just the land with the house taken off of it. So here's my spin on vacant land. I didn't do it in the beginning because I didn't understand it. And I actually found it's much, much easier than doing single family homes. But typically you have less inventory and you have less spreads in it. Now, here's the one plus that nobody ever talks about with land is, that pesky little software that homeowners use to figure out the value of their properties? Yeah, Zillow. it doesn't work real well with vacant land. And so we're still a little bit in the stone ages on how a owner of a vacant piece of land values it. And let me give you a little hint on how that works, because I had an advantage when I started out wholesaling. There's always an advantage, disadvantage. The disadvantage was no information. Like, I had no idea. Everything was trial and error. I did get some good stuff that I worked with, like local investors, and went to events, real estate investor associations. But outside of that, the guru was 20 to 25,000, and most of them were terrible. I mean, it was like, hey, send out some mail, knock on some doors. I'll show you how to write the contract. Give me 25,000. Remember, that was back in 2003. So it was a good old boys club, and I was not invited to that membership at all until I started making money. So when it comes to vacant land, is homeowners really don't know what they're worth until the day they sell it. And there's no real tools to tell them what the value is. So the only value of that land is what a cash buyer will pay for that property today. Now, the great thing with vacant land is it's even less risky, but it's a little bit more challenging because you got to bounce all the way around the country. You have to find out what cash buyers will pay for that piece of property in that market. And so whenever you go to a new market, because most of the time you have to do land virtually, because if I did it in Florida, I would starve. When you go out and do it virtually, you can find out, hey, what's going on here? And then you finally find cash buyers, which in the old days, we didn't have X leads. We had to figure out how to do that. Is they would, yeah, I could buy that land. I'll buy in between 50, 55, depending on, what side of the street it's on. I'm like, okay, great. We go out, market, knock on doors, do whatever you want, cold call, text, email. And then we find owners and they go, listen, I'm interested in buying your piece of property. Can I make you, what do you need to get for it? They're like, I don't know. And here's what they'd always said to me. This is why I love vacant land, by the way. I don't know. I paid $5,000 for it about 10 years ago. What do you think it's worth now? I go, yeah, I don't know. But I tell you what, I could probably get you 10. And I just shut my mouth. Why? Because they paid for 5. They look at it like I doubled my money. That could be a huge win, because they're not going to go on Zillow and look up their land value. And if it is, it's going to be massively off in one way or the other. And the reality is, it doesn't matter. If they're selling for 55, I'm in my rights to make an offer, whatever it is. You know why? They're not personally attached to the land. And if that's what they want to part with it, it's fine. It's actually easier than a home, because home people always get their emotions involved in it. So when he comes back, he goes, you know what? The least I could probably take is like 22, maybe 25. Who cares? I got somebody at 50 or whatever it is. Do you understand? But the problem is you have to go further and spread out in more areas to find it. And if you ever have to back out of a land, it is less painful, because most of the time you get about a 90-day inspection period. And let's face it, they're not living on the land. So you're not really they're not going to get as butthurt as they are on like a single family home. But I still want you to close on them. I still want you to do it. I love vacant land. It works. It's just, you got to do it virtually, and you got to do it more on a national basis, in my opinion. So, Zach asked me, what are your opinions on tax deed and lien leads? So here's where the problem is. When you start doing the word like deed/lien, you're talking about two different animals. So here's how. So most of this works on its own property tax. And by the way, in my opinion, property tax that go in delinquent when people don't pay them is one of the telltale signs there's a major problem, because everybody knows the outcome if you don't pay your property tax. And did you know there's 16 states in the United States that are trying to abolish property tax just for the reason I'm about to announce to you now? And by the way, I'm in my home state of Florida, which they're trying. I mean, they are pushing so hard to get rid of it, because the reality is the counties, they don't have to ask for increases. When real estate goes up, their coffers get full and they get all this extra money. And then the fire department goes, we need pay increases because we have union employees. The police department goes, hey, crime's going up. We need more police officers. And we do. But everyone's job is to reach in and grab money out of that coffer. And they do it. There's never money left over, except on the county level. The states are different, especially in Florida. And people just keep taking and taking until there's out of money. And then you wind up with like New York City. Their entire budget's bigger than the entire state of Florida. And they're still running like a $13 billion deficit. They're still trying to pay for last year's problems, all the years that built up. And so the problem is it's gotten out of control. There's never any checks and balances. They never ask for permission, and they start like spending this money like crazy. So understanding if you don't pay your property tax, usually after 2 years, they're going to take legal action on your home, and it gets actually wrapped up and put in a special foreclosure auction. Now, let me explain how this works. You don't pay your property taxes. You basically have 6 months to pay them. After that, they're marked in arrears, and you get a final notice with penalties. And after that, they have a tax certificate sale. A tax certificate sale doesn't really mean a lot as an investor. Why? It just means they're getting further behind. The tax certificate, they put it out to bid, and they'll start, listen, the bidding rate is 19%. That's the interest rate you get on, and people will bid it down. Now you can actually, remember we talked about like what your savings rate is versus a money market. Most of the tax certificate rates get bidded down to roughly what the market rate, they'll get 5-6% on them on a good one. All you are is buying that lien position, and you're getting a return on your money. You get no leg up on buying that property. It has nothing to do with wholesaling. A lot of people will put millions of dollars just in the strategy and hire brokers, so they get a higher return than what they get in a money market. They feel it's less risky because it's backed with a real estate asset than it is like the stock market. So buying a tax certificate doesn't mean anything. After, I believe, a year or two, depending on your state, 2 years state of Florida, you can file for a tax deed. You can file basically to foreclose on it and do a tax deed sale. Then, if it's not paid, it goes to an auction. As the owner of that certificate, you have no more ability than I do to bid on that property. And so your only godsend is if nobody bids on it, you can take the property for what's owed on the taxes. What do you think the odds of that on a quality property? There's zero. If it's a piece of crap land in the middle of nowhere, nobody wants it, be careful what you wish for, because you might own the property. Then you have to pay the taxes on it, and the city sucks you in. If you don't believe me, go look on your county tax rolls and see what percentage of properties are owned by your county. These are all the properties that nobody wants to buy because you can't build on them. It's got drainage problems. So when nobody else bids on a property at a tax deed auction, you might want to start scratching your head because you're not smarter than everybody else there. And remember, people from China bid on these. Like, it's a complete anonymous. You get like a 9-digit number. You have no idea who's bidding. I used to go to the courthouse when we actually buy these things. So guys, the real money in a tax liens, tax, whatever you want to call, because you got to understand, there's people who get delinquent on their taxes. They get a tax certificate, and then there's a tax deed sale. The people that really make money are the ones that catch them when they start to get behind, because I have a tactical advantage. The guy with the tax certificate, the one filing for foreclosure, has no rights other than the money that's owed to them. Period. So a lot of people, like, I had someone taught me this method, and I thought it was brilliant. And after I looked at it for a while, like, it was the stupidest thing ever taught. They go, Rick, buy the tax certificates, and then you go knock on the door and you negotiate them. You don't need to do all that crap. Just skip that part and work with the homeowner, because they own that home until the property's foreclosed on. Why am I going to spend $8,000 or $10,000 on a tax certificate? And then I might have to have an attorney do a foreclosure, another 10 grand. I got 20 grand into a property. I don't even know what it's going to sell for. Guys, I will tell you, when people get delinquent on their property tax, it's after 2 years on properties that are at or below the average median price in that market. They are absolute gold. Wrap that up with a probate, wrap that up with a foreclosure. You have someone that needs to sell their house. They absolutely need a wholesaler like you or me. I love these things. To me, I believe tax people delinquent on their taxes is one of the telltale signs that people really need help. If they want to say it or not, it's completely up to them. We have to understand that. So, it needs a lot of work. So Charles, I would have to know the area and everything on that. So I'd start at X Leads, or you could use Zillow, Redfin and figure out, all you got to do is figure out what the ARV is and minus off the repairs. And then you start with a significantly lower number than that. That's all I can do. So wait a minute, like guys, tax certificate sales, like it's for children, in my opinion. It has nothing to do with wholesaling. People teach entire courses on this. People try to sell you a course on how you can get the overage on a foreclosure. Complete chump change, guys. Like the real money is always going to be in wholesaling. I don't care what, like I've been in this 24 years, guys. It has never let me down. Have I had lean years? A lean year to me is like $2 million net. I know, but unfortunately, do you understand? I started out broke doing this business and I made my first 100,000. And I thought I was a god. Honestly, I felt richer with that 100,000 than what I have now. And I've never, like, my expectations are so high for what I do. I just keep pushing forward. But my job is to help spark you, to show you, hey, you can do anything you want. The problem is most of us have set our expectations so low because we're so used to everybody around it. It's all we know. And now I don't mean to do this, like people who make less than $1 million a year. Listen, if you're trying to get to $1 million a year, like if you've been trying it for a long time, it just means what you're doing is not working. You need to make a change. So I stayed with the company for 12 years. I made a little bit more money each year. Like I get a 3 to 5% raise. And I thought I was king. It was terrible. And I was struggling. And I finally admitted I got to fix this. And that's how I found wholesaling. And that's how you found me. It's how you probably found Zach. And I just want to keep sharing everything we do with you guys because I love this business. I would everything. I'll always be low to wholesaling. I'm not like all these influencers that just, you can't wholesale anymore. It's illegal. It's banned. It's this, it's that. But it was good enough for me, but it's not good enough for you. It's bullshit, man. Or my language, man. I think it's ridiculous. Wholesaling's been phenomenal to me and my family, to most of my friends in this business. Some of my best friends are in it, and I've never looked away from it. Do I do a ton of other things? I do, but I always pay homage to what got me to my ultimate success, which is wholesaling. And guys, I'm telling you, 2026, I love it, man. You are in the harsh winter. Sharpen your knives, sharpen your axes. Stay away from the picks and shovels because they're just a fool. And look at your fundamental list that the government creates and look for people who need to sell a house that are off market that you're direct to the seller. You can hit those, man. You got your wholesale compass set in the right way, and I want to help you get there. So if you guys want to learn more, go over to freewholesaling.com. And guys, listen, if you got value from that, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the biggest compliment you can pay to me. And as usual, hit that like button. I'll be on tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time, right here in the Flip with Rick channel. And we got a juicy topic to talk about. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We got a big announcement coming out later this week. Hopefully I can hold it under wraps till then, but you guys are going to be very, very happy, especially XLeads users. And that's it, guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. Have a good one, man. I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time.